Hello, young women in and around Fort Drum, New York. My name is Ellen Patton, and I am Jana's best friend in Boston. I'm originally from the Los Angeles area, and I've lived in Boston like 33 years. Yeah. And Jana asked if I would make a video and talk a little bit about the temple. So I have my little envelope of notes. I just wanted to tell you a few stories and just a few things about the temple. So my very first time that I went to do baptisms in the LA temple, I was really excited because one of the names that I did was Ellen Alt, A-U-L-T. And I have a 3x5 card in one of my like scrapbooks that I'd written that name because I wanted to remember it, but I've always remembered it because she has the same first name as me. Okay, Jana mentioned that you're going to the Palmyra Temple on Saturday. I actually drove from Boston whenever it was, wasn't it like 15 or more years ago when it was dedicated? But I actually went to the open house, and it's a beautiful temple. And one of my friend's husband did some of the stained glass on that temple. Anyway, I think all the temples are beautiful, but it's in such a beautiful spot. So I hope you have a good trip on Saturday, for those of you that are going. So let's see. Years ago, I actually went through the temple for like myself when I was older, and my niece had given me this red journal, and I decided that it was going to be my temple journal. And so I've actually tried to write something after each time that I went to the temple. And I worked in the baptistry in the Boston temple for years, like probably 8 years or more. And so some of the entries just say like baptistry with whoever I worked with or what ward was there. But I thumbed through this tonight, and there were some fun things in here. And so if you feel so inclined, that might be like a fun thing to do, to just keep a journal. And every time you go, just write something that you think about, or if you want to remember one of the names that you do baptisms for, you could keep it in your journal. So I mentioned I was a baptistry worker, and then so a couple of things about the Boston temple. When it was dedicated, I'm going to go across my, wait, can I turn this? When it was dedicated, it didn't have a steeple. And I'm going to have to take this picture off the wall because I don't know how to turn the video. I'm not very savvy with this. But my brother's friend flew here. He's a photographer for the Salt Lake Tribune newspaper. And he asked me what time of day was a good time to take a picture of the temple. And I said probably like 5 or 6 o'clock. So that was 2 days before the dedication. And like I said, there was no Angel Moroni because there were some issues in the town of Belmont, which a year later were straightened out, and they put a steeple on. And at the time, I was the stake public affairs person, I think. And so they said, and I'm into photography. So they said, you can go that day and bring your camera. And so I went, and I think the Angel Moroni had come from the West, from Utah or somewhere. I think they brought it by train, but it was in these wooden crates. And on the top of Angel Moroni, there was a piece of metal like that, like a round piece of metal. And inside was this bolt. And one of the guys that was there said to me, "Do you want that bolt?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." Anyway, so that is my special thing from the Boston Temple, Angel Moroni. A few years ago, I went to Mexico City on a vacation with some friends, and my friend and I went to go to the temple, and the woman that was the temple worker, I could tell she was scrambling around to find someone to speak English. And I felt terrible because I thought, I'm in a different country where they speak a different language, and they don't need to speak English to me. And so I said to the woman, en español, which means in Spanish. And so I remember that she, just instantly looked very relieved that I was okay with it being in Spanish. And it was a really nice experience listening to the words in the temple in a different language I took Spanish in junior high, and a year in junior high and a year in high school, and I don't speak Spanish. But it was actually a really cool experience to hear the words in the temple in a different language, kind of knowing what they were saying, but not knowing what they were saying, but just like feeling like I knew what they were saying. Anyway, the woman, maybe some of you have seen the movie Coco. The woman in the temple looked like the grandma in the movie Coco. And I wish that I had just taken her hand and taken her outside to take a picture of her, because I just wanted to remember that experience and remember her, because she was so beautiful and she was short. And it was just a really nice experience to participate in the temple and hear it in a different language. I have kind of a funny story about the temple. So in my ward here in Boston, I was the Relief Society president a few years ago, and I organized a temple trip for the women in my ward. And when I got there, the greeter at the desk was kind of making a face as he was looking at my recommend, and I finally realized that my recommend was expired. I was like, is my recommend expired? And he said, yeah. He said, if you forgot it, we can call your bishop and you can still get in, but if it's expired, you can't come in. And I said to him, can you send us a reminder postcard like the dentist does? But they don't do that. Anyway, I couldn't stay. I had to leave. And as I was leaving, I passed like 3 women in my ward, and they were like, where are you going? Where are you going? I said, oh, I'm so embarrassed. My recommend is expired. Anyway, of course I got it. I had my interview right after that. And within a week or 2 of that, and got it straightened out. So I had to recommend, but that was kind of a funny temple experience. Jana mentioned, sometimes I wear jeans to go to the temple. Or pants, especially if that's what I've worn to work and I'm going after work or going on a Saturday. And some people, I think the rule is that they're supposed to not say anything, but sometimes they do, which is, they shouldn't. Everyone should just be welcome to go, how they're dressed. My brother was a sports writer, and he traveled around the country, and he wanted to go to the temple when he traveled, but like his outfit for his job was like jeans and a button down the front, collared shirt, and sometimes a jacket. But he said, I didn't have room and didn't want to pack extra clothes to go to the temple. So I can't remember, this was a long time ago, but I think he went a few times in his work clothes, which was not a suit, and that was totally fine. But anyway, I have gone to the Boston Temple in ripped jeans. My mom would be embarrassed if she saw that. But I always say to people, what do they say to me? Welcome to the temple. So I always like that. It really shouldn't matter. It's nice to get dressed up, but it really shouldn't matter. Okay, now some of you are going Saturday. I hope if your ward wants you to dress up, don't say, I don't want to get in trouble if they say, well, Jana's friend wears ripped jeans to the temple. Anyway, the last thing I want to say is one of the nicest things about the temple for me is, I've told this to my nieces, and I tell people, is every time you do temple work, you're doing something for someone else. And that is one of my favorite things about going to the temple. Anyway, maybe I will meet some of you someday. I hope to visit Jana one of these weekends. I'm going to drive over from Boston, but anyway, you're lucky to have her as your leader, and I hope you have a good experience, either this Saturday when you go to the temple or whenever you go. Anyway, take care.